Lately, it seemed like we've gotten some of the most conflicting messages. I mean, I'm in real estate. Having been a real estate broker, helping folks sell homes and buy homes, and now a real estate mortgage broker, helping folks do the financing. And lately, I've just seen very conflicting messages from the professionals that a lot of us get our information from. On one end, you'll hear the world's coming to an end. Oh no, the real estate market's blowing up. And that's for us as professionals directly because volumes are down dramatically by numbers of sales. Some places are even seeing softening in prices. Some places are still seeing them go up. It's kind of all a mixed bag and folks are really scared and concerned. But you're seeing a lot of folks leave the industry because really there's just fewer transactions, period. But then on the flip side, you now all of a sudden start seeing a lot of folks come out though still, and they got to say it's the best time ever to buy. It's the best time to get a place. And really for consumers, it's one of the more confusing things. My friends might be telling me how much they're suffering when they're selling real estate and I will get anything sold, but wait, it's the best time to sell, period. This makes no sense. So really this whole talk that I've come out today is really just a vent and a rant on, is it the best time to buy? Because by golly, you listen to any real estate agent or loan officer for that matter, and we might be always saying it's the best time ever. But you got to wonder, at the same time, I'm also hearing from folks that it's the worst time ever for mortgage professionals, for real estate sales professionals. This is a little confusing. I always use the adage, don't let a friendly fox into your hen coop, right? If you've ever heard that one, the premise is, what do you think a fox is going to do when it gets in your hen coop? Now, in the world of real estate and mortgage finance, any professional service for that matter, if you're asking like me, real estate broker, real estate loan officer, asking the question of, hey, should I buy a home? You got to pay attention to who am I asking? What do you think they're going to say? I might just have an inherent bias to just directly always say yes. But really, I'm here to just talk about a little bit of the issues I'm seeing in the market from the advice that's being out there and just to be careful. That's all it really is. Just my advice and thought process on what I'm seeing. So on one end, you're hearing a lot of folks say that, hey, the real estate market is just absolutely terrible. It's tough. And in reality, that's true. From a real estate professional side, like me, trying to sell homes or help folks buy homes and do their mortgages, there's a big decrease in the number of transactions that are being done. There is no doubt about that. From 2 years ago, we had record highs, especially on the mortgage side, for doing refinances. Rates were so low that there are mortgage companies out there that were just doing extreme volumes of loans because they were doing high refinances, and there were record high purchase years, meaning more folks were purchasing homes than almost ever in the past. Tremendous volume in purchase, tremendous volumes in refi, meant that there was just a boatload of sales being done. And here's where everyone's feeling the squeeze. And now you might be getting all these posts on social media and everything about how to go buy a home or, oh, hey, the market's great and all that. That's because all of a sudden you went from this many sales or this many transactions to where the purchases have gone down by around that third ballpark. And then if you look on the mortgage side and how many refinances have decreased, mortgage refinances are almost non-existent. Like they're gone. So all of a sudden now in mortgage world especially, you're down to where the volume is around a third of what it was just a couple of years ago in the heavy years of 2020, 2021, and early 2022. They were just crazy times for mortgage professionals and for real estate professionals. And here's the thing. There's a squeeze. There's a lot fewer transactions. Now, what does that mean for a buyer? Like if you're buying and watching this and you just clicked on it and decided, oh, hey, is it a good time to buy? What does that really mean for me? I mean, it's terrible. The transactions are cut. There's only a third done for the loan guys and about 2/3 or so for the real estate side. Does that mean it's terrible out there? Well, yes and no. So there definitely is some truth to the comment that it can be a good time to buy. But I'll put asterisks all over that thing and say, hey, there's a lot of caveats to making sure that it is a good time to buy for you because it really is buyer dependent and location dependent because heck, real estate, you ever heard the term location, location, location? That's real. Location does really matter in real estate. So if you're in a market where you're seeing prices soften a bit, that could be an opportunity. But you also want to be careful because by golly, maybe the prices are going to continue to soften. It's always up in the air. And so it really leads me back. My overall premise to get from this video basically is it a good time to buy? I say it really depends, but I'm always in the camp, and I know I have an inherent bias in it. Been doing real estate for over nearly a decade now. I say over a decade from buying it, but nearly a decade being a professional in it. And obviously I'm going to say, hey, generally it's always good to look at buying. However, how you buy changes with times. So when there's a lot of volatility and uncertainty and you're not really comfortable with it, it can still be a good time to buy so long as the situation makes sense. So if you're buying and you plan on living there for a long time, it'll really usually make sense to look at purchasing, because the longer time frame you plan on being in a home gives you time to reduce a lot of those risks. In general, real estate goes up over time. However, I'll be happy to point out there's times where real estate can go sideways for a bit. And there have been times in the past where it even goes down. So that means the longer time you have in that house can really help protect you from downside in the housing market. So if right now you're debating to buy or rent and making your decision on it, we generally have a basic timing recommendation for all our military families. So we get to work for a lot of military. And that's really our recommendation, where you try to have at least 3 years in a house. Now, it's ideal that it's longer, but at a minimum 3 years. Are you going to at least own that home for 3 years or more? Be it you're going to rent it out or you're going to live in it for a long time. Now, 5, 7, 10 years, that's even better. That's really going to help you cover any major fluctuations in the market. But those risks can still be there. So when you're hearing folks tell you, hey, it's the best time ever to buy right now, but wait a second, your sales are way down, having a lot of issues. Is it really? Well, it kind of depends. Because think of it this way too. Even though the transactions are down drastically currently, the supply of homes has also decreased. Now, the supply uptick is ticking up a little bit because there's so many fewer buyers due to higher interest rates. And while there's fewer sellers in a lot of markets, there's still slightly fewer buyers. So the inventory, the number of houses on the market, are slowly increasing, but it really is location dependent. But we're seeing a little bit of increase. However, it's still historically so darn low that has kept a lot of house prices in check, meaning they've stayed relatively stable. Because while there's fewer buyers, there's also fewer sellers. So even though the transaction count has gone way down, prices have stayed relatively flat. Another thing you can get me going on is the misnomer, and that people assume when interest rates go up, prices on homes go down. That is not the case. It is an indicator, but it's not perfect. Think of it this way. It's more like interest rates are kind of like the next step to prices going down. Interest rates went up, so prices didn't go down. Buyer demand went down, there's fewer buyers, and because there's fewer buyers, so long as there's a similar number of sellers that were before, the supply of homes will increase, meaning that there's more homes for sale, and that is what will ultimately drive prices down, because if there's more homes for sale and not enough buyers to buy them, eventually, as I always say, someone's got a fire sale. If all of a sudden homes are sitting in the market for 3, 6, 9 months, and there's an issue with it, there's a divorce, there's a death in the family, there's bankruptcy, for some reason they gotta sell, that's what starts putting pressure on home prices going down. But it only happens if the supply increases. So interest rates going up are actually a few levels removed from home prices going down. So if interest rates go up, all of a sudden buyer demand can go down, no doubt about it, and it has. We've seen that. Hands down, we have seen buyer demand drop dramatically since the interest rate increases in mid-22 to today. Seen a lot of folks drop out of the market. But at the same time, sellers have been more reluctant to sell. For whatever you want to say, some folks say it's a rate lock buy-in, like, hey, they've got it in, they're afraid to ever move. I'd say partially true, but partially not. But point is, there's just fewer people willing to move. They got such low interest rates, or they can't go out and buy the next home because it costs too much due to the financing costs, and they're just not moving. That means that we have fewer homes up for sale, which has kind of kept prices in check, if that makes some sense. Real estate at its purest level is like one of the best supply-demand businesses out there. So if the supply is high and the demand is low, you're generally going to see prices drift down. If the demand is high and the supply is low, you're going to see prices generally go up. Very simple. Right now, interest rates going up have decreased the demand, no doubt about it. But the supply has oddly decreased as well, meaning they've kind of stayed in check together, keeping prices relatively stable in a lot of areas, but by no means all places. Certain markets have seen decreases, and some have even seen increases over the last year and a half since we've seen interest rates go up. So, does this mean it's a good time to buy? Heck, you decide that one. I just recommend the point. If it makes sense in your situation, you run the numbers, and it works, and you know you're going to be there for a good amount of time, and you make sure it's a place that you can reasonably handle, meaning it's not a massive absorbent amount of your budget, which we'll gladly help walk through if you're curious about what that can look like, then hey, it could still be a great time to buy. Because over the long run, real estate's one of the best investments that you can have within your portfolio of wealth building. The deal is you just don't want to make it a curse. You want to make sure your home's a blessing in the long run. So hopefully that helps you make that decision of buying. We also have some other good series on buy versus rent, deciding on selling versus renting out your home, all that good kind of stuff. My name's Evan Kaufman. We're a VA loan originator, focus heavily with military families, be that active duty or veterans, and we can help you with your VA or conventional loan. Take care.